Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Got another in our segments of interviews with executives of junior mining companies. I'm always on the lookout for new stories that are developing, and it kind of surprises me that there's still those to be found in Nevada. And these guys have had some good drilling results. I invited them to be a sponsor. They took me up on it, so we can follow this story from early and on to big and success. John and Don, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yep, good to see you, Alan. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Alan. I'm looking forward to it.
So the first thing that stood out to me when I was doing my research on the company was the drill holes you guys announced. The one in the summer with 23 and the two beside it. I noticed that there's already in the early stages some very nice continuity there and good grades. And that's always what I'm on the lookout for.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Don. I'll let you talk about that.
On yesterday's, at least I saw it yesterday, your interview, you used the word truth machine.
That's right.
When you were discussing what we were doing once we had found DB23. And I thought, yeah, that's what drilling is. It's truth machine. Geophysics is not necessarily the truth, but there's nothing that can handle, that can beat core or chips and assays.
And it sure came through with you on those first few holes, Don. I was kind of curious why you picked those holes. I do see a geophysical anomaly pretty close to the north of the drill holes. Was there a structural story that got you interested in picking those holes?
I did not pick the phase one holes.
Okay.
And during phase one, we were, I was brought in to sort of be a truth machine myself. As the geologist, as the qualified person on this project, I was asked to oversee the drilling that had been previously planned and decided upon. And so I was all willing to learn everything I could. It just so happened that back in the 1980s, I think I first put out a report on this in about 1984, 85.
Wow.
On the Buster project. And it was recognized even back then that there was some east-west structure that was dominating things. And you can see from the topography, we didn't have any Google Earth at the time, and I barely had a computer. It was called a 9-inch screen on a Macintosh. And I was able to, I was very successful. And in 1987, by then I had gone back again, I think in 88, and published another report on the Buster. But it really intrigued me, the project area, and I did my best to even, I never do this. I never go into anything else besides consulting, but in this one case I did. I failed miserably, of course, raising money, but the ideas were there. And so they just tend to blunder along. And then there were several people that came in afterwards. And then John called me up, 20 years later. And here we are. But the first round of drilling, what got us to DB23 was DB22, which Dave Belling had, and I think in coordination with Ken Brook, wanted to drill a vertical. In fact, I think Dave was adamant to drill a vertical hole there. And so they did. And I saw what came out, because as a QP, I like to be on site watching the machine as it brings forth truth from the below. And I was doing that. And there was it was not looking very good. And so I knew that we were off to the, and if I had my map ahead of me presenting here right now, I could do that. But I knew that we were off to the, on strike with the buster shaft and the upper shaft and the dumps and the good mineralization that was aligned east-west right there. So, and I thought DB22 had a pretty good shot. And in fact, it did. They encountered, two or three 10-foot intervals of multi-ppm intercepts, but nothing like DB23 or the two following. So anyway, we drilled DB22, and we were being constrained by the BLM as to where we could go, of course. So I drilled. I just took it upon myself and didn't even talk to John or anybody. I said, okay, I'm going to drill a hole to the north and cut the structure if it's passing north of me. And so I drilled that hole at minus 50 degrees or so to the north. DB23 was the next hole I built, and it was to the south, and I drilled that, and you couldn't see anything coming up, but I knew it looked better. It was more oxidation, and then I drilled another hole to the north, DB24. While waiting for those assays, we went ahead up and drilled the BT holes, which I'll show you later on my Google Earth presentation. And lo and behold, it was 3 months later before we got the assays back. And because of COVID and so on, personnel problems, nationwide, we finally got the assays back, and they were the DB23 intercepts were great.
Hey Don, I still have your voicemail saved on my phone when you called me with the report on that show.
No kidding.
Those are always nice phone calls to get.
So be nice to me, or I'll play your excitement live here on Allan's show. But do you want to pull up should we pull up the Google Earth and
that's
narrate as we're looking?
That's my second favorite tool for exploration. Of course, the first is the Truth Machine. Second is Google Earth. I love that. I use it all the time, Don.
NAD 83 is the only thing that Google Earth does, and I love it.
Yeah,
we're able to keep everything up to date as close as possible with that Google Earth, and it forms a sort of a cloud-based cloud-based database.
right.
For me, I love the Google Earth.
Well, why don't you crank it up, Don, and we'll have a look at your Google Earth images.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen.
Perfect.
And there it is. I'm sharing my screen with you. And what do you see?
We don't see it yet.
Your screen yet.
Oh, well, I'm glad I asked.
Oh, there we go. And there it is. Good. Okay. Now we see it, Don.
All right. I got to find out where Alt is here. Okay. I'll press Alt to show her how.
So, John, do you have the drill hole intersections handy? Why don't we tell people what those 3 holes so far have hit?
John, do you have those handy?
Yes. Hang on a second. Let me do that.
Okay.
All right, but right now you're seeing the bare ground of the Excelsior Springs project.
Okay.
And you're looking at access roads that have been developed over the past since the 1980s for drill rigs, and before then, the main road up in the middle of center of all these squiggles, all the way up to the peak of the Palmetto Mountain is the road to the towers.
And are we looking to the east here, Don?
We are looking directly east.
Okay, perfect. So we can see those structures.
You can see, can you see my white hand
Yep.
here?
Yeah.
White hand is going right along a lithologic contact right there.
Yep.
And because I haven't yet gone out and mapped any of this, which I need to do, and John has supported me in that, I'm going to, we'll find out exactly what that contact is. It looks to be, some sort of, I'm not even going to take a guess.
Okay.
But the main portion of the Buster trend, especially right in here, is where I had mapped this all in. I had made my own topography map because there wasn't even any good topography at a scale I could
Looks
use.
like there's a significant amount of alteration there.
There is. There absolutely is. Some of it is, especially in the southerly portion I'm seeing now, at least some of these holes that we drilled to the west from the discovery zone. By the way, I'll let me put in the discovery drill hole location for you.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I'd love that.
There it is, the Laboucan story, and I'm going to close out with the Excelsior Springs story because I don't want to show all of our secrets.
Just some of them.
Yep. Discovery holes right there.
Okay. Okay. So it's right sort of a little to the east of in the alteration package.
It is on the eastern end of the well-drilled package that has exposed alteration here and there. That
Right.
alteration consists of a low-grade sericite alteration, with quartz stable sericite alteration, and then it gets in places, especially up near the Buster shaft and in our discovery towards I'll put in those shafts for you too. There's the Buster shaft here, and there's the upper shaft. Okay, and
Okay.
then about 400, 500, 600 feet beyond it, east of the upper shaft is the discovery zone, the western slope discovery zone. So, and we've actually drilled some holes. Let's see. I actually drilled some other holes.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second there, Don. And I just wanted to give people a little taste of what kind of, for the new viewers, the drill hole intersections that you hit.
Yes.
Some of the highlights include, I'm just getting it on my phone here and it doesn't always.
Yeah. And Don, if you want to share the screen, I can pull up those intersections.
So
okay.
DB23 hit 33.5 meters of 5.15 grams per ton gold and 9 grams of silver, including a 16.7 meter intersection of 10 grams of gold, 17 grams of silver, and a 10.6 meter intercept of 15.3 grams of gold. Then the other two, I'm just using my phone here, guys, so bear with me. What was the other two? Do you guys have those handy?
I've got them.
Okay.
Yep. So
John, do you want me to put them up?
well, I've got it on the screen now. Can you see the DB23, 2201, and 2202?
There we go. Yeah, there you go.
I had to stop sharing. So
if you want to see the assay, here's the exact assays, then we'll go back to the visual. So DB23, 110 feet of over 5 grams, including some serious high grade core. That was the discovery hole. And then in the fall, we just drilled 2201, which was 27 meters at a bit over 6 grams, with the silver and the base, little anomalous base metals. 2202 was the 15 meters at about 5 grams. And there's a couple different lenses. Let me go back to the leapfrog image. You can see, the mineralization is pretty consistent. It varies. There's some high grade pockets, but it's pretty strong, high grade, shallow. I mean, all the things that, you want in a project,
And 01, it ended in mineralization too, right?
It did. It
You
did.
might give our listeners and our watchers the fact that we're not looking at a cross section here. This is a map, and north is up. And
Okay.
these are 3 drill holes, all angled at moderate degrees to the south.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So this is from our Leapfrog 3D model. Just a great way to visualize the 2 zones and the intercepts from those 3 holes.
You know what else intrigued me about those results, Don? Not just the good intersections of the high grade, but there's also some sniffs of base metals in there. What do you think is explaining that?
I came upon the answer to that question during phase 2 logging of the drill hole number 22-1.
Mm-hmm.
The answer to that question is there are underneath the oxidized zones. There are in hole 2201 down here. Oh, you can't see my arrow, but right there. There are some chips in there in the lower ore zone, which is, I think, up to, if I remember right, 40. Is it 40 ppm over 5 feet, John?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I don't have that in front of me.
It's whatever it is. It's really nice. It could even be 20 grams. It'll be fine. But in that intercept, there were veinlets and banded veinlets of sulfide and silica, and I don't think there was any carbonate in there. And those sulfides were dominated, of course, by pyrite, but there was also some very black sand grain sized crystals of galena.
Ooh.
And I could not identify any copper sulfides or zinc sulfides, especially, I'm from I did my master's in New Mexico, and we had some real funny sphalerite down there, all different colors. And I think some of the lighter colors sphalerite is going to be at the bottom of this hole. Anyway, those sulfides in those lower veinlets, then I think up higher in the upper zone, and also in the higher elevation zone, I think those were all washed out and replaced by the strong oxidation that we've been seeing. But I'll note also that over here in 2202, in the bottom, that bottom zone also carries mineralization there. That is all oxidized. So it's only in this one hole, 2201, is that lower mineralized zone, or I should say, the footwall zone, if these things are near vertical. Probably I think both of them are near vertical or dipping off to the north on the order of less than or greater than 70 degrees.
So do you think there's some kind of sulfide pumping system in there? What?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And now I'm going to take us, if I can, I'll take us back to my
Google Earth.
Google Earth.
You know, something else you brought up there, Don, is that you're hitting these grades in oxides. And,
Yes.
you know, down the road a ways, 50 miles or so down the road, Anglo Ashanti is getting pretty heated up about that bullfrog area.
Well, they need to.
Well,
I
they
was with
got,
St. Joe back in 1984 when we were working on it, when we did that place.
mhm.
Go ahead.
They bought a Corvus. They spent about $600 million buying ground and potential mines, and now they've got that silicon discovery down there that looks quite exciting as an oxide story. 3.4 million ounces in a maiden resource.
Yeah, that's the north of the Bear Mountains there. That's a beauty.
Yeah.
Hot spring systems. That was my favorite subject for the first 20 years of my life in Nevada.
Right. So this Walker Lane trend is starting to get pretty heated up.
Yeah, you know, while we're on that, Alan, let's talk about that for a second, because you know, the last year, in addition to what you just said, Centerra bought the old Goldfield district, then Gemfield project, and then Kinross has added a project down near us. And my landman recently sent me a map. They just staked a bunch of claims not far from us. So the majors are taking a serious interest in this area of, you know, of the Walker Lane. So it's definitely heating up.
I would imagine some of them are probably watching you guys because you start hitting that kind of grade in an oxide system. My gosh, that would be a cash machine.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. I am so glad, John, that you staked those extra claims that we were advocating last year.
Yeah, absolutely. We needed to expand our footprint. But
Well done.
okay, so back to you, Don, with your.
I don't know
Okay,
if you can see it in this map, Don, but I immediately, when I was doing my homework, I saw that east-west structure, and then there's one that goes to the north-south, and right where they meet is where there's a big geophysical anomaly there.
I don't know how big of a zone you're talking about on that one.
Well, you haven't been able to, you only did part of the anomaly in the grid that was done on the geophysics already.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
That was old. It was an old shallow IP survey and where the Southwest anomaly started to, you know, appear. And so we need to do a deeper IP and extend that, you know, to get a better look at that.
So will you run that IP over the entire new area, the entire claim, including the new area?
You know, we haven't made that decision yet. That's still in debate. But yeah, we need to, you know, expand our scope and look at some of these other areas that we've got now as well.
Because there seems to
we
be
need to do is follow the gold on this one.
I like
Yeah,
to
follow the gold first.
Follow the gold with the truth machine.
There we go.
All right, I'll stop interrupting you now, Don. You can go back to your Google Earth story.
Yeah, maybe zoom in there and take a closer look at the discovery holes.
But I
Right.
certainly can see that the alteration just sticks out like a sore thumb.
It does. It does. Well, let's take our next close up and look.
Okay.
We're looking east. All of the Buster Shear is what we're looking at. But now we're going to look from the upper shaft to a place called Lunch Ridge. Okay, here's the upper shaft.
And the upper, let me just interject here. The upper shaft is essentially part of the western slope zone up towards the drill holes. But go ahead, Don.
Yeah, the western slope zone, I think we're going to end up defining between upper shaft and Lunch Ridge by the time our next few rounds of drilling are done. I'm in great hopes. But from here from the upper shaft to to let's see, I'm going to get rid of those. Where's the alt? I thought I'm supposed to be able to punch the alt and get rid of this. All right. Anyway, it's less than 1,000 feet from the upper shaft to the discovery at Western Slope. And then from the Western Slope up to a place called Lunch Ridge, where the rock samples that have been accumulated by the previous guys at Athena, Ken Brook and Bob Thomas and Graybeck and whoever else was working on that project. They look at all the greater than 1 ppm rock samples they had up here on the west slope of Lunch Ridge, as well as even farther out here towards the north, and also down between the upper shaft and the Buster shaft right here. Okay, some of these red numbers are mine, by the way. I took those in 21 as well to confirm the gold we had found back in the early 80s at Buster.
So then that series of 3 holes, you kind of drilled in between the 2 sets of geochemical anomalies.
That's correct. That's correct. But I was really, again, that was phase 1, and phase 1 was laid out for, I'll show you where those phase 1 drill holes are. It was laid out for areas really between DB22 and the Buster shaft area.
Okay.
And they wanted to profit from the previous 40 years or 30 years of experience there.
When were those shafts being used?
Far as I can, from listening to stories by an old prospecting partner of mine, Joe Morris from Mina, who passed on about 10 years ago. Joe said that these shafts were being operated from the 20s on into the early 50s.
Okay.
Yeah, and they originally, the historic work goes back to 1865, 1875, early 1900s, and then there were some rehab and limited work in more modern times.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were definitely there for a reason.
Joe was old, but he wasn't that old. He was a good man. All right, so those were the gold numbers, and these gold numbers, unlike everything else down here, these gold numbers are everything else is down in the siltstones primarily, right, in this country here, and a few other odd pieces. But up here you have on Lunch Ridge. Lunch Ridge is right up along this drill road, this old drill road here. That's Lunch Ridge, what we call Lunch Ridge. And I drilled some other holes. Let's see, right back when we had just enough money to drill a few holes on phase 1. I drilled 3 of them, angle holes, to the northeast along some strike, structural strike that we perceived there. We drilled this one hole underneath here, BT6, underneath towards, and these limestone hosted fracture and veinlet hosted samples in limestone. And then we drilled another hole, BT16, I think it was, or BT15. Oh, that was 16, and it was an angle hole down to the southwest, and it encountered some real strong silicified rock, but we did not get ore grade values out of it. But that was, I would have, if I had that money for one more hole, I would have drilled right there vertically.
So that's telling you that you're near something,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
The silicification we see underneath in the siltstones and underneath the capping limestone in this area, especially where including these 3 holes here, um, that is a positive indication of and a good lithostratigraphic structural trap for gold in in these rocks.
And that big alteration package with some widespread mineralization certainly suggests this could be a very big system.
I'm hoping to sell that idea. Thank you to John.
Well, you don't have
I
to sell it to
actually.
me. I could sort of see it on Google Earth there.
Yeah, Google Earth is amazing.
It's incredible.
One satellite picture is worth 1,000 words.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when it sticks out like a sore thumb there, sort of in between a couple of structures that look quite interesting.
And I'm going to show you the other, let's see, rock samples greater than, okay, these, there is no, for some reason, there is little to no uh, 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 rock samples on the surface here. There was a few, but not many.
Mhm.
But they were all under 1 gram, but barely. So in fact, if I no, what's this? Yeah. And in fact, we're going to have to this
Fill
summer,
that in.
early this summer, we're going to have to fill that in. Yeah,
Mhm.
most of it.
You
So,
know,
but we
I
need to,
noticed that there's secondary faulting going north and south, right, Don?
I'd say northwest.
Northwest, okay.
Yeah. In fact, I've got good indications on rock chips from some reconnaissance sampling I did on a big northwest structure right there. See that?
Yeah.
That's a rock chip better than I think that was John. What was in it? How many ppm did we have?
I want to say it was over 3. We were kind of calling that North Star, right?
Wow.
North Star, and that is part of a continuation, a continued gold bearing structure that goes from the northeastern end of the White Mountains down through a rhyolite hosted gold mineralization and that's now under a big subdivision north of Dyer, and then it strikes all the way down through the old Palmetto mine, and then right through here. And this is the area.
Oh, yeah. You can see it there.
This is all I can talk about this now because John put his claims out there. This is all at occurring near and at my projected intersection of the east-west Buster Shear zone.
Oh,
This
wow.
this rhyolite hill northwest striking fault zone that is and has interesting values in it here, but also all the way for the next 50 miles up to the other end of the White Mountains.
Wow. That's a well-prepared place to be looking for mineralization.
Yep.
But in the short term, we're going to stay focused on the high grade. I mean, you can see the potential of all around us. But when we're staring at these 3 holes with this amazing intercepts, we're going to focus on that, in our next phase.
Yeah, and really, when you're talking about oxide mineralization, those really are quite incredible. They're mining 0.5 gram in oxides these days.
Yeah. Well, and they're so shallow. I mean, they all start at less than 100 feet, the high grade intercepts. So, right, Don?
And then that bears the question, well, what's underneath it as well? Because, you know, a lot of these oxide mines nowadays, in Nevada are transitioning into the sulfides, and there's exciting stuff happening below the oxides.
There are these east-west shear zones, Allan, in the Walker Lane. I can think of 2 or 3 that I've worked on and found gold deposits on. And they're just like this, except this is the first one I've seen with the stratigraphic and structural traps that we've seen thus far, between limestone and underlying siltstone. And then I think what we're going to end up finding is another underneath us is another fault offset, or maybe.
So to put that into the non-geos speak, you've got the potential plumbing system, and then it's hitting into some permeable rock where it can spread out.
Right, the fluids that are depositing these sulfides and oxides are coming up against the dam of of a limestone cap in an altered and brecciated and fractured and sheared siltstone, and that's where those fluids are mushrooming out. We are looking to see some substantial high grade thicknesses along that contact throughout this western slope and beyond.
In both directions.
Yes, well, that's correct. In both directions from the current ore holes.
So you've got the plumbing system, you've got the right packages of rocks to work as a sponge, and you've got evidence there of a large area of alteration. And
evidence of some deep repeated structures underneath along the strike of this east-west Buster shear zone.
So explain that further, Don. I think that's an important point.
Okay, we have host rocks. We have a capping limestone that, like up at Lents Ridge, along fractures and faults within the limestone, and up at, oh, by the way, I didn't mention this, and this is a critical point. There's a rhyolite, the top of a domal rhyolite sticking out of the ground.
Right
there, and that's Dave, our engineer Dave wanted to drill some holes early on right there, and I can understand that. That's a good idea, but I think we got to drill towards it.
Okay.
This western slope zone.
In all directions.
Down and east and west primarily.
But then I think it looks like from north to south that you've got room to arm wave there as well.
Yeah, to the northwest.
Yeah, okay.
We do have one hole I haven't mentioned yet. GE26, way out here, has got some nice thick low grade mineralization in the siltstones, in the host siltstones.
And you can see the alteration up there as well.
Yes, yeah, and that's not even been mapped hardly at all.
Wow.
We gotta get up there and map it.
That was, it was anomalous, but it was something like, wasn't it 200 meters at 0.2 or 0.1 or something? I mean, it was, it wasn't ore grade, but it was a really, really thick intercept. So we think we're really close to something up there as well.
Well, and that's something that I don't think a lot of investors really appreciate. They think you just poke a hole and find a mine. You got to narrow the search, and you got to look for the breadcrumbs, if you will, that lead you towards where you're going to find better stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to follow the gold.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, we have some great targets on this project, but when we're staring at this high grade western slope zone, that's where the focus is going to be in the short term. We're going to drill towards Lunch Ridge, right, Don?
That's correct. That's correct. And I wanted to do a big soil program up here too, to include all of the area down toward about halfway between the discovery zone and the upper shaft, all the way up past Lunch Ridge, and
Up into
along,
there.
up into there. Yeah. Can you see me when I'm doing this?
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no problem. Perfectly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's where we're going, guys.
Good. And
So,
I think down towards the in the other direction, the alteration continues all the way down there.
Oh, it does. You mean
Past-
down across the valley
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
You see these bands? Look at these bands in the rock.
Yeah.
Those are probably altered zones. That I know they are from what I've seen on the outcrop right here, in this area where they used to have a heap leach pad set up for. I think somebody had been in the late 70s or early 80s, probably late 70s, had been trying to take some of the dump material from Buster and other workings
And leach it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know how
Um,
successful.
you can also see the structure, Alan, that you talked about before here. You know,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we lost. There you go.
there. Now see this thing right here.
Yeah.
This thing, the Palmetto mine is right there.
Really. Look at the alteration there.
Old Palmetto, Dave Shadrick's old Palmetto mine, right there.
And who owns, do you guys own that ground?
we do not. We do not.
Okay.
Yep.
But it gives
I'm
you
I'm probably giving away too many things, but that's
but it certainly gives you a roadmap.
It'll give us, all of us explorers, a roadmap.
Yeah.
We've got to concentrate on getting this.
Yeah, we have selective claims through the area where we've covered some of these targets. But our core land package is about 4,000 acres. So we're.
Do you have can we see the claim boundaries on, do you have that filter? Don?
I don't have your newest claims that you've staked, but I've got some of the older ones.
Let's take a look at that.
Do you want to do, John?
Yeah, just go ahead and I can explain what we added.
Where the new stuff is.
Yeah. Just to keep things moving. I know you're on a schedule, Alan. We appreciate your time.
Actually, no, I'm pretty good. I love, I've been I got the exploration disease a long time ago. And when I can go over this and sort of do the exploration in live on Google Earth, it's what I love to do.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me, and I guess I don't think you can see my cursor, but you can see this hole down here. We filled this in to the southwest to better cover that anomaly that we have down here.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath the pediment here.
Well, no, more like the southwest anomaly is right in here and kind of projects down here. And so there was a row of claims that was needed.
Can't tell where your here is.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess I'm looking at my arrow, which you can't see. But right, just go up a little bit north. Right there. So that's where we filled in. There's a claim block there that just better covers the southwest anomaly. Right. And then go east to the peak of Palmetto Mountain. And I'll point out. So over on the peak of Palmetto Mountain, starting to go down towards the town of Lida, there's a whole history of high grade surface mines, both gold, silver, copper, and the one called the Blue Dick that we don't have, but we pretty much covered all of this area up there over the peak in that area there where Don is pointing to now, because that's part of that trend.
And you got along the southern claim block, along your boundary on the south, you've filled in a bunch of squares there as well.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So yeah, we're pretty, these were we needed to add these targets just to round out our claim block. So we're pretty excited.
But, looking at what when you zoom in there, it sure helps tell the story with that big alteration package and associated with structure, east, west, as well as cross structures.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, we always get really excited when we're looking at reviewing this, because it's insane, the opportunity that's in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, look at, you guys got a lot of room there to grow.
Yeah, this yellow line is the old, it doesn't even cover the top of Palmetto Mountain.
Yeah, and our new claims do. We go over the
This
peak.
is all recrystallized limestone here with a lot of little copper shows around, by the way.
Yep. Because
I'm certainly intrigued about the oxide potential, but even equally is the deeper into the sulfides. It looks like you've got sniffs of something happening there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel real good about finding more sulfidic mineralization at depth in these siltstones that were in the bottom of our holes in the discovery zone. But eventually we're going to be looking at some intrusive action too, I would think. I know well off to the east is a large porphyry that has been occasionally prospected.
Well, I think you guys have done a hell of a job of giving me the ability to wave my arms a little there, Don.
Oh, good.
Well, it sort of tells the story right there. You can see a big alteration. You can see the structures beside it on either side. You see the cross faulting, and then you can see that oxide mineralization that you hit in 23, 02, and 01.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And a hell of a lot of room to grow from there.
Yeah.
I know. We're just at the tip of the iceberg here. So
I think that's a great way to explain it too.
Yep. And speaking of the iceberg, as soon as the snow melts, we hope to be back out there with the rig here in the early spring. So we'll be back to work and more news and adding to what we've done.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. I sure like what I see.
We got a lot of surface work to do, sample early in the spring as soon as we can get up here. This is all more than 7,500 feet high, by the way. I'll show you what the topography looks like here.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep.
This is the 8,000 foot line right here.
Okay.
So and this is Lunch Ridge coming right down there. And this is another little ridge, a little northwest structure that's running off this way and intersecting right there. That's our number one target is Lunch Ridge and the area up here.
So you can see in relation to Western Slope, we've got a pretty big target there. That
and GE26 for that thick zone of low grade, GE26 is right here.
Yeah.
On the other side of our intersection. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Certainly lots of work to do there, and good work, it looks like.
Nope, we sure do. What else do you want to know today, Alan? Anything else we can?
No, was there anything you wanted to close with, John or Don?
No, I think, we remain really excited every day. We feel like we're building more, pieces of the foundation and ready to get back out there with the truth machine and drill some more. And, we still think that we had one of the best discoveries in 2022 in Nevada for shallow, high grade oxide gold. We're pretty undiscovered in the marketplace. We trade on OTC QB under AHNR, and on the CSE under ATHA. So you can find us wherever you're most comfortable purchasing.
And Don, did you have any closing statements?
Only that John and I and Dave and the crew are going to follow the award. We'll go ahead and spend some money on some geophysics when necessary.
But you'll let that truth machine guide your journey.
It's got to. It's got to. And also geophysics. There is and will be a good time for geophysics on this.
Absolutely.
Well. Meanwhile, I think between some rock outcrop more outcrop mapping and sampling, rock chip sampling, and then an extensive soil program off there to the east, especially, we'll be having some good targets developed by the end of 2023.
Well, I got my sneaky suspicions based on the IP there, where you might find some more of that sulfides as well.
Hey, Allan, that target's too good to drill. Oh no, the old truth machine will lead you there as well. Yeah, eventually we'll get there. So we got a lot. Yeah, we have a lot of things in the works, so we'll keep you posted. And we have a pretty exciting 2023 ahead of us.
Well, this was a lot of fun, Don. I do love the exploration business, and especially when you can use such a strong tool like Google Earth to really tell the story.
It does, and it does it in Ad 83.
Awesome. I'm going to close it off, guys, and we'll have a little chat at the other end. How's that?
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it, Allan.
So there you go, folks. I think it's a very fair statement what John says about about how significant this discovery is in Nevada when you put it into the context of it being a oxides where you're hitting those kind of grades. There's several multiples of what a lot of mines are being mined at these days, and to find that oxide with great grades so close to surface, and then put it into the context of a large alteration area and the structural story, and as Don was talking about the stratigraphy, so you've got the layers of the cake that allow those fluids to go in. So they're checking off all the boxes there to make a very big discovery, and I think that's what they got in front of them. And I'm really glad that they took me up to be a sponsor, because I love walking these stories out there as more work gets done. And I think we're going to have a lot of good conversations in the not too distant future. Yeah, so as always, my shows are for information purposes only. Important for you to do your homework, speak with your financial advisors, go to their website and check out these maps and stuff, because I think it's really important to understand the companies you invest in. These aren't just stocks, these are exploration stories, and that's what I like telling. And I think that Athena has a very good one to talk about. On that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Allan. Appreciate your time.
Yep.